journey there? Because I doubt, and maybe I'm wrong about this, but I doubt that you were taught in seminary to do Mass the way that Mass is done at All Saints Parish. And so tell us a little bit about
Well,
how Mass
yeah.
is done at All Saints Parish. Maybe I'm wrong about that. You can correct me. But tell me about how Mass is done and how if you've evolved over the years or changed, maybe evolved, it seems prideful, but if you've changed over the years in the way that you've wanted Mass to be done at your parishes, how have you changed and what drew you to the place that you're at now?
Yeah. So I came from a place where I was not, I think it's just so interesting. You know, I'm 47 years old. I'm 20 years a priest. And so we have to also realize like where things were at 20 years ago. Like for all of you, you know, young people out there, like things were really, 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 really bad. Like I remember at my first Mass, like telling some other of my like seminarian friends, like all I can control is what's on the white corporal in front of me, because there were big glass pitchers of wine that were on the altar that were then poured into glasses and distributed to the people, because that's what happened at my parish and the celebration of Mass. And so just things were really, really bad. Like we forget how bad things were in the 1980s and 90s and 70s when I was raised. So when I was in seminary, I began reading the documents of the church, and I was just like, none of this matches up with what I'm seeing. Like, I'm confused on why what this says isn't being actualized. And I know that there's this, you know, of course, like clearly there's this big, you know, drive now towards the TLM. And for me, it was just always a question of like, well, aren't we going to at least try to first maybe actually do what the documents say before we all like jump on the TLM bandwagon? Like, who's actually trying to say, have we done this yet before we leave? And so for me, it was, I just felt very convicted when I was in seminary to say, like, I'm going to be a priest who's just trying to implement what was never implemented. And so even right prior to COVID, like Father Hallowell and I, we wrote this document, like 27 things that every priest could do right now to make the Mass more reverent without celebrating the TLM. And it was all of these things like the average parish, like tabernacle veils and chalice veils and using incense at all the proper times and wearing proper vestments and, you know, all of these things, chanting the entire Mass, the use of Latin, like these are all things that any priest could do today. Any of them could do today. And so I've just tried to, I mean, really, I would just say that's been like the anthem of my priesthood, is like, I'm trying to actually live the Second Vatican Council. I'm just trying to implement what is actually in the actual text. In doing so, you know, if you do that, then it turns out that Mass is actually pretty amazing. And, you know, it does attract, like I have found over my experiences that men are attracted, but not just men, but reverence is beautiful. Right? Young people love reverence. They love consistency. And those are things that clearly were nowhere present. And I mean that. I'm just like, they weren't present in my experience of the Mass as a young person being raised in the 70s and 80s. Every week was something different and new and innovative and reverent. It was about us. It really was. It was about us focusing more on us. So anyways, it's really been beautiful. I mean, at an All Saints Parish, not just All Saints Parish, but now all of Dearborn County, because our liturgy really has become very cohesive across the entire county. Any of the 7 churches, you know, you see well-trained servers, and there's lots of them, sometimes over 20. And we chant the entire Mass, and we use incense every single Sunday at every single Mass. You know, Mass is celebrated with great execution and intentionality, and music is reverent. And so all of those things that you would expect to be there, hopefully are there. Now, I just want to say this, like, I'm not, you know, I would love to see more. Like, I'm not saying that I'm done. It's not me when I say I'm done, but like, there's still things that can continue to be perfected for God's praise, for God's glory. Yeah, I do think that for most people, the way that Mass is celebrated is not very edifying or attractive if we really think about what's taking place and the fact that it is the representation of Calvary. Like Calvary itself is being placed for us on the altar, and that's a really, really, really big deal.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's huge. I often tell people that All Saints Parish has what I think is the best Novus Ordo I've ever experienced. I think that Lord's here
That's a
in Denver,
very
which
big claim, by the way.
it is. Well, I mean, you don't know how many
It's a
Novus
very
Ordos
big
I've
claim.
seen. I might have only seen really bad ones, so it still could be like a 6 out of 10, but be the best one I've seen. So I'm a limited person, but I have been to mass in probably 20 some different states and seen many Novus Ordos actually, but during my travels and things like that. But I think parishes like Lord's here in Denver, we get close to it. But I think that I just love the way that you do it. It's my favorite in the world. But one of the things that you do really well, and I want to ask about, this brings us to our fourth point here, which is parishes have no brotherhood, is the altar boys. I don't know if I've ever asked you about your reasoning for why you only have male altar servers. Is that something that's in Vatican II documents, or is that something that is more some that you have other reasons for? Why do you do that? And tell us a little bit about altar boys and the culture you've created with the altar boys, for whom I have great affection and love.
Yeah, so just for those of you who have never been to All Saints Parish or any of the churches in Dearborn County, because the altar boys are now all in Dearborn County across
Everywhere.
the board. But the altar boys is a group. That's what we call our altar servers. So it's altar boys with a Z. Just remember that, okay? Altar boys with a Z. And they're actually, this is going to be really crazy. My sister, who just got married, by the way, on December 29th. My sister's a professional dance choreographer. She works with young people across the country. And anyways, so there was actually an off-Broadway musical called The Altar Boys, BOYZ. That's where I got the name from. And I just liked the name, and they had, anyways. So that's where I originally got the name, because we used to call them Men in Black in my first 2 parishes. We called them Men in Black. But it's just the idea that there's a document called Redemptio Sacramentum that came out. This is in the days of Pope Benedict XVI. And it was a document that was to make corrections from things that were going bad in the liturgy. And it put out a reminder about the importance of having young men at the altar. And I took that as just a great endorsement to realize that this is where priestly vocations come from, but not just priestly vocations. This is like, if you just have to ask yourself the questions, like in the majority of parishes across our country, when you go to Mass on Sunday, if there is a server, it normally might be 2, maybe 3. They're scheduled. The priest or the sacristans before Mass are frantically trying to find servers coming out into the congregation and pulling kids, begging them to come back. And I have just found that if you create a fraternity, number one, you never have. So we don't have a schedule. There's never a schedule. It's one less thing for my staff to do. But it also then creates memories and experiences and genuinely a brotherhood. So just like last Sunday, I was processing out of Mass, and there were 20 servers at Mass. And I got to the back of the church, and there were a bunch of Altar Boys alumni. And so these are all the bros that they technically can no longer serve because they graduated from high school. And I turned to one of the sacristans, someone who sets up for Mass, who's in the back of the church. I'm like, look at this Altar Boys graveyard back here. I'm like, all these boys back here, like they wish they were still that they were still able to serve. And it was something really, really beautiful. But I mean, like my experience, Nathan, and I, once again, born and raised Catholic, I was an altar server. My brother and I served Mass, but like I had no relationship with these other servers. Like we weren't a brotherhood or a community. We just fulfilled our function on Sunday morning once a month, and then we went home. And so the idea is actually to create a brotherhood. This is, I've learned it, just from my experiences in sports and athletics. But you just look around. Like this is like, do we want thriving communities? Do we want, like, these are our future men who are going to run our parish festivals, that are going to, be coaching CYO basketball, then coaching CYO football. And these are the men that we want to be involved in our men's group and our Bible studies. And these are the men that we want to be raising other good men. And so I want to form them now. I don't want to wait until they're having the crisis like later in their life. Like, so creating the fraternity now. And I was like, listen, this is a weekly youth group. The weekly youth group might only be for 5 minutes before Mass, but that's our weekly youth group. And that's the opportunity to just be like, hey, I know every one of my servers by name. I know what school they go to. I know what's happening in their life. And so it's not about, I'm not saying like that it's me knowing that. They also know each other, and they feel comfortable talking to a priest, and they're next to the altar. Like I always just say that as well. Like I want as many young people as possible to be kneeling close to the altar of Jesus Christ. Like, why would I not want that? So creating that fraternity aspect is really important, and having that ability for them to have that relationship with Jesus, because then, in the sacristy before Mass, I can talk to them about like, what do you, just a few days ago, we were before Mass, I asked I went around the sacristy, I asked every single server before Mass, like, what's your Mass intention today? What are you praying for today at Mass? Right? I mean, like, when does that conversation happen? But that opportunity is there to happen, and it's happened, in a beautiful way. So anyways, just thankful for all those little opportunities that we have, to make those encounters. So that, anyways, the Altar Boys, we have logos, we have merch, we have gear, we have everything. They have everything. Every article of clothing you could imagine, they've been given.
There's swag.
So it's fantastic. They have more swag than you can imagine.
That's awesome, man.
So,
well, Father, thank you so much. I'm excited to come and experience the Novus Ordo at my favorite Novus Ordo parish in America in just 5 weeks. And so we want to invite people again to the E6 Catholic Men's Conference there in Dearborn County, Indiana at East Central High School. And so we'll both be there, obviously. I'll be giving one of the keynote talks and be there throughout the entire day. And so very excited for it. Father, is there anything else you want to share on that?
Yeah. No, I just want to encourage you to check us out at E6 Catholic Men's Conference, E6 Catholic Men's Conference. Tim Staples, Sean Casey, my dear friend, Father John Hollowell, who is cured at Lourdes. Nathan, my bro, is going to be the MC for the day. And we're talking 37 days away, my people. So get signed up, get checked in. And I really do hope that you can join us if you're anywhere in the local area. Feel free to fly in. We have a coffee shop, by the way, as well. So Ars Cafe and Meeting House. Ars Cafe is named after St. John Vianney, the curé of Ars. Not a pirate, not Ars like a pirate, more like Ars in France. But there's a lot you can check out. We got 4 beautiful churches that are right there in the local area. So you can make pious pilgrimages to all of those. It is the National Eucharistic Revival. And it's our bicentennial, 200 years of Catholicism. I mean, so many reasons to come to Dearborn County, besides just to see Nathan. And God bless you.
That's right. Thanks so much, Father. It was great talking with you as always. And we look forward to having you back here on Seeking Excellence.
Peace.